They discovered the shocking secrets of financial peace in the Bible for the 45 crowd. Few knew what truly happened that night. The moon hung heavy over Jerusalem, casting eerie shadows on cobblestone streets. Lanterns flickered as whispers traveled like a gust of wind, stirring unease in the hearts of those who listened. The ancient scrolls spoke of treasures hidden in the words of the wise. But what if those words held a dark secret? The marketplace buzzed with chatter. Traders with weathered faces bartered goods, unaware of the weighty knowledge being unearthed. A group of elders gathered around a fire, their faces etched with concern. They were anxious. Tension simmered over debts unpaid and futures uncertain. Was there more to this financial wisdom than what they had been taught? As the flames danced, old Tobias leaned in. His voice trembled. Consider the parables he urged, eyes wide with revelation. The talents. The worker who buried his gold. Gasps echoed. Could it be true? Were they being warned of inaction, of complacency? What if the teachings were a riddle with dire consequences? Outside, a storm began to brew, thunder rumbling ominously in the distance. The elders exchanged worried glances. Scripture had promised peace, but this felt like a prelude to chaos. Biting winds rattled the tents, as if the heavens mourned their uncertainty. A flicker of light illuminated a scroll, one that had been hidden for generations, hinting at financial principles that had been overlooked. Time was running out. Circles were closing in. What would happen if they ignored the clues? Just then, the earth shook. Was it a warning? Could this be the moment of truth for the wisdom of the ages? A collective gasp surged through the crowd. The scroll held the answers they desperately sought, but could they harness the knowledge before it was too late? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The air thickened with tension as the elders huddled tighter around the flickering flames. Shadows danced across their weary faces, revealing the weight of their collective worries. Old Tobias, emboldened by the tempest outside and the quiet storm brewing within, leaned forward once more. What if the scroll contains truths beyond mere coins and debts? He mused, voice laced with urgency. What if it speaks of a deeper legacy of stewardship, of trust and faith? The winds howled, echoing his words with a ferocity that made the fire crackle in discontent. The traders in the marketplace continued their bartering, blissfully ignorant of the gravity of their discussions. Yet, every bargain struck felt like a thread pulling the community tighter into the veil of uncertainty. The very fabric of their society hung in a delicate balance, woven together by shared fates and hidden secrets. As lightning temporarily illuminated the sky, Mara, a young woman with fiery determination, stepped forward. She had listened closely to the elders, her heart igniting with the fire of understanding. The rich man and Lazarus, she recalled, her voice ringing clear and steady, stifling the noise of the storm outside. One lived in comfort, while the other suffered at his gate. Is this a lesson on awareness? On compassion? Shouldn't we confront our own complacence as part of this financial peace? Her words ignited a spark among the group, their expressions shifting from apprehension to contemplation. These were not just tales of wealth and loss, these were callings for transformation. Sabin, an elder whose brow bore the furrows of many a sleepless night, nodded slowly. Indeed, the scrolls may not merely warn us of riches unguarded, they may beckon us towards an understanding greater than gold. The storm outside howled as if in answer, shaking them to the core. The elders began to murmur among themselves, voices overlapping like the crashing waves of the sea. Each man and woman wrestled with their own fears, accounting for their dealings and choices. Those words in the scroll hidden for generations, could they lead to enlightenment or to judgment? Or perhaps both? As the winds picked up, threatening to extinguish their fire entirely, Tobias raised his hand, demanding silence. "Let us not forget the lesson of the wise builder," he implored. "He who built his house on the rock faced storms and stood firm, while the foolish builder crumbled in the flood. We must fortify ourselves not just in wealth, but in integrity and faith." With a deep breath, the flames flickering before them, they felt a sense of urgency tethered to their hearts. The storm outside mirrored a tumult inside their souls, a tempest begging them to act, to awaken. What would they do once they unearthed the truths cloaked in the scroll, and how would it reshape their destinies and their very community? As the earth quaked once more, resonating with the heartbeat of the impending revelation, a question lingered in the air, heavier than the dark clouds above. Were they prepared to face the truths that might not only reveal their own shortcomings, but also challenge the foundations upon which their lives were built? As the winds howled with increasing fervor, a hush settled over the gathered elders, their contemplation thickening the air around them. There was a palpable electricity in the atmosphere, a sense that the unknown was about to unfold before their eyes. It was Sabin who finally broke the silence, his voice heavy with both fear and hope. "What lies within the scroll may not only challenge us, it may also unearth the deep-seated truths that have eluded us for far too long." Mara, still emboldened by the elder's response, turned to the elder men and women surrounding the flames. "We must summon the courage to confront what we find," she urged. Could the scroll hold the wisdom of former generations? Could it whisper the forgotten voices of those who endured hardships for the sake of faith? The flickering flames cast shadows that danced in agreement, a visual testament to the stirrings in each heart. With renewed resolve, Tobias suggested they form a circle, placing their hands together upon the edges of the flames. "Let us seek guidance as we prepare to open the scroll. We must delve not just into its words but into its heart. We must ask not just what it says, but what it longs for us to learn." The gathering shifted, a mingling of anticipation and anxiety palpable among them. Mara closed her eyes briefly, drawing from the historical narratives she had learned since childhood. The exodus from Egypt, the wandering in the desert, she spoke softly, recalling the stories. Each step taken was an act of faith, but also a lesson in reliance, in sustaining one another despite the surrounding hardships. Her voice became firmer, resonating with conviction. "We must strive to foster that kind of unity among us now, as we face the unknown." As if responding to her call, the wind outside seemed to quiet, allowing space for reflection. But within the circle, the tension remained, for each elder carried their own burdens, their own fears of what lay ahead. The burdens were not just debts of coin but of loyalty, relationships, and faith. They harbored whispers of unconfessed sins, perhaps even the worry that it was their own complacence that had led them to this precarious juncture. Sabin spoke again, voice low but earnest. "What if we wrote down our individual fears and uncertainties? What if we laid bare our thoughts to one another, naked and unguarded? Would that not be a path to true financial peace, not just in the material sense but within our spirits?" The suggestion turned the atmosphere electric, igniting a flicker of hope mingled with trepidation. Each elder pulled out a small piece of parchment and a quill. As they began to write, the storm outside picked up once more, but the augmented winds felt different, less threatening, more empowering. It was as if the tumult was now urging them onward, pushing them toward bravery and openness. Once their thoughts were set to paper, they drew closer together, sharing their revelations. In that sacred circle, confessions echoed into the night, frightful yet exhilarating. One spoke of greed that had seeped into the family business, another of a long-held grudge severing ties that once bound them together in love. A third elder revealed the haunting fear of losing their way amidst competing voices. As their burdens began to surface, they discovered something remarkable: they were not alone in their struggles. Each tale mingled in the air, forming a tapestry of vulnerability stitched by their shared humanity. Through shared honesty, the seeds of renewal began to take root, hinting at the promise of healing. But as they embraced this budding unity, unease simmered beneath. Sabin, glancing out at the unleashing storm, wondered aloud, "Even as we confront our truths, what if the scroll reveals something more than we are mentally prepared to withstand? What if, instead of salvation, we find a mirror reflecting our failures? The question hung heavy, a thread woven within their growing resolve. The deepening darkness now shaded not only the land outside but also the unknown lurking within the scroll. Would they maintain the strength to endure the trials that lay ahead, regardless of what they might find? As they pressed forward, another question beckoned in the silence. What might have been hidden within their midst all along, waiting for the right moment to emerge into the light? The flames crackled softly as the elders' voices subsided into quiet murmurs, their hearts still resonating with the confessions that had just been laid bare among them. Outside, the storm surged and raged, yet inside their circle, a new kind of storm was brewing, an awakening of ancient truths intertwined with personal vulnerabilities. Mara, sensing the weight of uncertainty pressing on her companions, sought to gather their lingering fears into a single purpose. What if this scroll, she began, her eyes reflecting the flicker of the fire, is not just a script of old, but a vessel of guidance that speaks to our present moment? A reminder that we are chosen to examine not just our actions but the intentions behind them. Sabin nodded, recalling the teachings of their forebears, where wisdom often emerged from crises. Stories often born from the ashes of despair reveal the pathways toward redemption. We must remember that truth, even when uncomfortable, can lead us to paths of healing, he said, the firelight seeming to nod in agreement. As a breath of wind swept through the gathering, bending the flames toward the skies, Tobias, with a newfound sense of urgency, urged them to prepare for the next step. Let us not merely linger in the warmth of our shared confessions. Instead, let us embody the spirit of inquiry. What questions shall we ask of the scroll that could illuminate our current struggles? The elders pulled their chairs closer, forming an intimate circle, the tension of expectation thick in the air. After moments of shared silence, it was Mara who broke through, her voice gentle yet fierce. What if we asked it about unity? How can we truly align ourselves not just in financial matters, but in the very essence of our community's spirit? The question reverberated, eliciting nods of agreement. And what about forgiveness? Another elder offered. What wisdom does it hold regarding the sown seeds of grievance that divide us? Courage, Sabin added. What strength must we gather not only to confront our past mistakes but to step into a future characterized by generosity and shared purpose? As each elder pondered, their questions grew deeper, weaving together a tapestry of longing, hope, and a simultaneous fear of the unknown unveiled. They voiced their collective desire to unearth not only their own answers but the very fabric that bound their community together. Would the scroll hold reflections that spark dialogue, ignite forgiveness, and draw them closer than ever before? Confident that they would soon unveil these layers of insight, Mara leaned forward, intrigued. But what if the scroll speaks not just of our unity but also challenges us with truths we might wish to avoid? What will we do if it casts a hard light on decisions we've made or paths we've chosen? The gravity of her words hung in the air, like an unresolved note of music awaiting resolution. The older trees outside swayed in rhythm with the conversation, casting shadows that danced primal in the flickering light, hinting at wisdom long forgotten. Finally, Tobias broke the tension with a soft yet steadfast voice. Then let us resolve, irrespective of the truths revealed, to walk together through every shadow that may come. Let our resolve be a testament to our faith in each other and in this journey. In that moment, the wind outside seemed to soften, carrying their shared intent into the realms beyond. The flames of their gathering fire mirrored their newfound determination, reaching higher as if to touch the heavens. Yet while their resolve was strengthening, the looming veil of uncertainty remained, teasing with the notion that the scroll may very well reveal truths far beyond themselves. With anticipation bubbling beneath their collective consciousness, they turned to the scroll, poised to unearth the wisdom within. As their hands reached toward its ancient scroll, a singular question permeated the air, shrouded in both hope and hesitation. What if unfolding the scroll unearths not just insights but a greater calling that challenges their very understanding of true peace? As the elders gathered around the scroll, their hands trembling with both anticipation and trepidation, a palpable silence enveloped the room. It felt as if the very air held its breath. The fire crackled, sending an occasional ember spiraling into the abyss above, echoing the inner yearnings of their souls as they readied themselves to uncover potential revelations. Mara was the first to unfurl the ancient parchment, her fingers brushing delicately over the time-worn script. The illuminated characters whispered of stories lost to time, yet the moment felt eerily relevant. "What story shall we illuminate first?" she murmured, casting a glance around at her companions. Possibly responding to her question, the wind howled like a distant trumpet, urging them to take heed, and with that sound, the elders felt inspired to draw forth the hidden wisdom. Slowly, they deciphered the delicate symbols, which revealed verses of guidance interwoven with a call to examine ethical stewardship and the weighty nature of prosperous living. That it speaks of sowing and reaping, Sabin noted, translating a passage that described the virtues of generosity and the responsibilities that accompany abundance. It prompts us to reflect on how our fortunes, whether ample or meager, serve not just ourselves but the broader community. His brow furrowed as he pondered the implications of his own life choices. Was he using his gains for the betterment of those around him? Mara connected those dots, her thoughts dancing freely in the light of the scroll. As we enrich ourselves, we must ask, how do we nurture unity rather than sow division? This scroll could be challenging us to look beyond our needs and consider the needs of others. She looked deeply into each elder's eyes, wondering if they were prepared for such an inquiry. Another passage emerged, depicting the foolishness of hoarding wealth while communities languished in need. The elders exchanged glances, at once resonating with shared truths of their lives. "There lies wisdom in vulnerability," Tobias said gently, "for to recognize our wants is to confront the reality of our values. They are often misaligned with the calls of compassion we hear." What if, Sabin pondered aloud, this is not merely about finances or material well-being but rather an invitation to examine the very essence of care for one another? It drives us to consider how love can inform our financial dealings. An uncomfortable silence settled among them. The truths rising from the scroll were reflections, inevitable in their intensity. Questions of self-awareness surged within like a tide pulling toward the shore. Did their current practices align with this revealed wisdom? Were they truly embodying the ethos of mutual support spoken of in these passages? Mara's heart raced at the realization. She felt the precarious nature of their discussion. What if true financial peace requires not just examination but a bold action that we may not have considered? Her voice trembled slightly, clutching at the implications. What if it requires sacrifice? Their minds swirled, contemplating what sacrifice meant in practical terms. Would it demand giving up comforts they had grown accustomed to, perhaps even facing harsh truths about the cost of their lifestyles? As they delved deeper into the scroll while nurturing a longing for reflective integrity, a sudden gust of wind blew through the open door, extinguishing the flame momentarily. Shadows erupted around them, and for a heartbeat, an uneasy darkness spread. The elders sat suspended between fear and revelation, a reminder of the fragility of their understanding. When the light re-emerged, illuminating their faces, it felt as though it carried a new spark of clarity. They looked upon the scroll once more, aware now that their journey would not be a smooth ascent but rather a climb fraught with challenges. Mara took a breath, her heart beating fiercely with unresolved curiosity. What if, as we navigate these teachings, they compel us to let go of comforts, to challenge our foundations? The question lingered in the air, tantalizing yet daunting, filling their spirits with anticipation for what lay ahead. Tobias responded quietly, "And what if the call to true peace becomes a forfeit of what we think we know? To truly walk this path may ask far more than we had prepared to give." In that charged moment, they knew their pursuit of financial peace was much greater than mere prosperity. It was an awakening, a raiment of wisdom intertwined with their essence as a community. Yet, a profound mystery echoed within their hearts, invoking a shared uncertainty. Had they truly begun their quest, or had they merely grazed the surface of a truth that would demand more from them than they ever anticipated? As the elders continued their reverent exploration of the scroll, a sense of urgency began to weave itself amongst their group. The hesitance brought forth by their reflections gnawed at their collective conscience. A deeper search was necessary, one that plunged into the recesses of their own actions and beliefs. Mara, emboldened by the unsettling winds, leaned closer to the scroll, her fingers tracing the next set of symbols that had long been veiled in obscurity. "Here," she breathed, "it speaks of the Good Samaritan. A parable we all know, yet perhaps one we have begun to overlook." The elders collectively nodded, memories of the lesson washing over them. Tobias folded his hands, ready to extract every ounce of meaning. What if we considered the Samaritan a model for our intentions with our resources? He didn't just offer a coin or two, he gave aid, time, and compassion to one who was suffering. He understood that true charity transcends mere financial support. Sabin's brow knitted once more as he grappled with the implications. If we are to emulate him, must we redefine what constitutes being a neighbor? In this fast-paced life, how often do we truly engage with those in need? This parable challenges the foundations of our community expectations. A moment of silence fell, thick with introspection. How many were considered other in their own lives? The boundaries created by the presumption of self-sufficiency were becoming clearer, exposing a fabric that required mending. This notion of aid, Mara whispered, entwines itself with love and empathy. Our resources are not just personal assets, they are extensions of our heart. She looked at her fellow elders, wondering how many of them had leveraged their blessings for the benefit of others. We must ask ourselves, what does our current usage of time and wealth reveal about our priorities? The shadows around them shifted, reflecting the turmoil pooling within. Tobias looked up from the scroll, a flash of realization crossing his features. Perhaps we have hoarded not just money, but our willingness to extend our hands and hearts. What if the greatest wealth lies not in what we accumulate, but in the love we choose to disperse in our communities? As they faced this new truth, a chill danced around them, tinged with a sense of urgency. A ripple of electric energy pulsed through the elders, who now stared into the abyss of their potential realization. Mara continued, if we embrace this call to reevaluate generosity, what may we lose and what might we truly gain? The air thickened once more, as if a response was forming just beyond their reach. Sabin turned toward the open door, where the wind had swept through earlier. Is it possible, he said softly, that each act of giving, no matter how small, sends forth ripples that can alter the fabric of our community? Perhaps this is why the scroll urges us to journey deeper. We may uncover more than just financial peace, we may discover a renewed sense of connection that transcends commerce. With each conversation, the scroll mirrored their thoughts, holding back layers that felt insurmountable yet enticing. Yet, Tobias added, gauging their hearts, the question remains. If we choose to love and give as the Samaritan did, will we be met with open arms, or will we encounter resistance from those conditioned by the norms of self-reliance? As the flickering candlelight cast wavering shadows, illuminating their resolved faces, a profound sense of revelation hung in the air, accompanied by a disquieting question that remained unresolved. Were they ready to embrace this radical transformation, or were they merely stuck on the brink of understanding? What sacrifices awaited them on this path was yet undiscovered, but the invitation to bridge the gap between faith and action grew ever louder. As the elders absorbed the weight of their reflections, the air shimmered with an unspoken challenge. Mara, gently breaking the stillness, returned her gaze to the scroll, her heart yearning for deeper understanding. The Samaritan's journey, she mused, was not merely a transaction, it was a profound engagement with the essence of humanity itself. He did not hesitate when he saw a fellow man in distress. What if we took this to heart? How often do we truly see those around us? Tobias leaned forward, a spark igniting in his chest. To see requires action. It demands that we step outside of our own comfort zones and preconceived notions. In this world, the busy and the isolated often clash. Perhaps we've grown accustomed to merely passing by the suffering, too preoccupied to notice their plight. The scroll invites us not just to see but also to act, but how? Sabin questioned, his brow furrowing. In our desire to help, do we risk losing sight of our own burdens? Can we extend the love necessary if we are weighed down ourselves? The question lingered, echoing in their hearts like a gong. Mara pondered this as she shared, in giving, we are often confronted with our own vulnerabilities. It is through acknowledging our frail humanity that we cultivate a deeper connection with those we aim to serve. The Samaritan, too, had a life to live, yet he chose to immerse himself in another's suffering. Tobias, searching the scroll anew, remarked, "Could it be that the act of serving those in need is intertwined with our own healing? Perhaps each act of kindness stitches together the torn fabric of both giver and receiver." Encouraged, Mara pressed further. "What if, instead of seeing vulnerability as a weakness, we embrace it as a shared experience? The scroll hints at a profound mystery. Perhaps our purpose is not driven by guilt, but rather by an innate desire for connection." As their discussion flowed, an unfamiliar energy began to envelop them, a quiet urging that beckoned them beyond their immediate thoughts. Sabin couldn't shake the feeling that their exploration was leading them to something greater. What transformative power lies within our collective grief, our collective joy? "Well," Tobias interjected, "the scroll doesn't just recount stories for knowledge's sake, it serves as a guide for how to live. The Samaritan embodies the essence of community and collective effort. We must be willing to shift our perspectives and explore the nuances of our shared existence." Suddenly, a gust of wind rushed through the open door, as if carrying a message from beyond. The elders glanced at one another, feeling a palpable shift in atmosphere. It was as though nature itself was urging them forward, nudging them toward an answer just out of reach. Mara, feeling the weight of destiny, ventured further. "Is it our fears that hold us back? Do we believe we have nothing worthwhile to contribute, or do we withhold our gifts to preserve our comforts? The scroll urges radical change. What if we let go of fear and embrace the unknown of giving?" Each elder felt the ripple of her words, the realization stirring within them, a realization heavy with potential, yet fraught with unease. As they sat in silence, contemplating the journey that lay ahead, a haunting thought surfaced. If they began to dismantle the barriers that held them isolated, what truths would they have to confront within themselves? As they pondered their path forward, they faced an unsettling anticipation. Were they truly prepared to see, to act, and to embrace the transformation waiting just outside their guarded hearts? What if, in their attempts to heal others, they unearthed the very wounds they had tried to bury? The unanswered questions lingered, drawing them deeper into contemplation. As the elders contemplated the weight of their conversation, a sudden stillness fell over the room. The scroll, now hallowed by their discussion, seemed to pulse with a life of its own, inviting their attention back to its ancient script. Each word, steeped in wisdom, beckoned them to delve deeper, as if suggesting that the answers they sought lay buried within its verses. Mara turned the fragile parchment delicately, her fingers dancing over the letters. What if we approached these teachings as more than just guidance? What if they hold keys to our very existence? Her voice trailed off, and the others felt the weight of her contemplation. Tobias nodded, his mind racing. In seeking understanding, we grasp at the very essence of financial peace. The scroll recounts more than mere transactions, it speaks of stewardship. What if our possessions are meant to serve our community rather than imprison us? His eyes glimmered with newfound insight, a flicker of hope igniting within him. Sabin leaned back, the weight of Tobias' thought pressing heavily upon him. Yet, if we begin to view our wealth differently, does that not lead to discomfort? What if the act of living generously reveals the scarcity in our hearts? His words hung in the air, heavy with the unspoken fear of inadequacy. Mara clearly sensed the struggle within her companions. Perhaps this tension is precisely where transformation begins. The Samaritan didn't hesitate to give what he had, trusting in the abundance of spirit over material concern. What if we followed his example? What if our deepest fears could be healed by sharing our blessings? A gentle breeze swept through the room again, as if affirming her words with a divine breath. The elders felt the cool rush, yet it did little to quell the unease coiling in their hearts. Tobias, wrestling with his own reservations, posed another question. And what does this abundance look like? Is it a financial state, or does it encompass our emotional and spiritual resources as well? Can one truly find peace in sharing when the world preaches scarcity? Mara closed her eyes momentarily, allowing the question to settle. The scroll teaches that true abundance isn't limited to wealth. It encompasses love, empathy, and the willingness to endure suffering for another's sake. Perhaps we must redefine our perceptions of wealth altogether. Sabin regarded her thoughtfully. But redefining wealth entails confronting our fears of loss. What if by giving, we face the lurking anxiety that we might not have enough for ourselves? A hush enveloped them, and in the silence, realization dawned upon Mara. Isn't that the very heart of faith? To trust that we shall be provided for, even as we give? A slight murmur of agreement rippled through the group, yet the tension remained palpable. Their hearts wrestled with such a radical concept. Would vulnerability and generosity truly lead them to a place of peace? Would stepping into the unknown yield a harvest of healing or further expose their wounds? As this profound realization gripped their collective consciousness, Mara posed a question that ignited the quiet rumblings of their fears. If the pursuit of peace requires a re-evaluation of our grips on material and emotional wealth, are we courageous enough to explore what lies beyond? What truths await us in this terrifying journey of discovery, where the act of giving might rend the very fabric of our complacency? And with that, the elders fell into contemplative silence once more, aware that the answers they sought were entangled with the fears they harbored, shrouding the path with uncertainty and potential. Would they have the fortitude to step forth and embrace what the scroll revealed? Would they unearth the depths of their faith to find deeper peace? The questions lingered, unanswered yet beckoning them toward a destiny intertwined with both sacrifice and revelation. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting shadows that danced across the room, the elders remained ensconced in their thoughts. The weight of their discussion lingered in the air like incense, heavy yet intoxicating. The scroll lay before them, a silent witness to their internal struggle and burgeoning insights. Mara broke the silence, her voice trembling with purpose. What if every fear we have about letting go of our possessions stems from a deeper anxiety, a fear of being unworthy, unloved even? Could it be that this wealth we cling to is merely a reflection of our perceived value? An electric tension filled the room, as each elder considered the profound implications of her words. What if, Sabin interjected cautiously, the act of sharing becomes a mirror, a revelation of our worth? Every act of generosity exposes the gaps in our self-esteem, pushing us toward an understanding of God's true creation within us. The elders exchanged glances, the flicker of understanding igniting within their eyes. Precisely, Tobias leaned forward, emboldened. If we refuse to see ourselves as whole, how can we extend our hands in love? Maybe the scroll points us to the truth that we must first recognize our inherent value before we can honor others. He paused, a dawning awareness flashing across his countenance. What if our reluctance to give is not about the lack of resources but the fear of revealing our brokenness? Suddenly, the room felt alive with energy, as if the scroll was responding to their contemplations. The gentle rustle of parchment mirrored their awakening spirits. Mara felt a surge of courage. Then can we trust that as we give, we might discover the wholeness within ourselves? It's a paradox, perhaps a journey not just toward peace for those we serve, but for our own hearts as well. The elders considered Mara's assertion. Could the act of giving transform their own perceptions of worth and heal their fears? A silence enveloped them again, an invitation to dig deeper into their motivations and the essence of financial peace. What about the times when our giving feels futile? Tobias asked, vulnerability etching his features. What do we do with the moments we share, and yet experience unfulfillment or disappointment? How do we reconcile our efforts with the world's unpredictable nature? A sorrowful understanding settled in Mara's eyes. It's easy to consider our offerings in terms of tangible returns. But what if the true measure of generosity isn't found in immediate gratification, but rather in the faith we cultivate in the process? Perhaps our act of giving serves a divine purpose beyond our understanding. Sabin pondered aloud. Does that mean we must endeavor to lower our expectations of receiving? We could be planting seeds in soils we may never see flourish. He sighed at the thought, embracing the emotion of his unexpected insight. Exactly, Mara affirmed gently. The scroll invites us to surrender our need for acknowledgement. The journey into financial peace isn't a transaction, it's a relationship, a covenant woven with trust. What if the secrets of peace lie not just in how much we share, but in our intent to love unconditionally? A flicker of hope ignited within Tobias. If we begin to see our resources but time, talent, or treasury as vessels of love, perhaps that's where we find true peace. And if our hearts keep giving despite the world's fluctuations, could that level up our faith? The elders observed one another, recognition dawning that the mere act of contemplating these truths could forge a shift in their collective understanding. Yet lurking within the shadows were remnants of doubt. Mara, sensing the shift in energy, asked gently, if our journey towards financial peace unveils the hidden parts of ourselves, those which we may not wish to confront, are we ready to embrace what the scroll truly calls us to? How might the act of giving reshape our entire existence into something greater than ourselves? As the question settled in the atmosphere, the elders felt the weight of their potential transformation. Uncertainty mingled with anticipation as they wrestled with their fears, uncertainties, and revelations. The scroll awaited their next steps, but the path forward remained as mystifying and intricate as the verses they had yet to decipher. With faith still cloaked in shadows, would they possess the bravery to uncover the depths of spiritual abundance? What mysteries lay ahead in their quest for peace? The atmosphere within the circle grew ever more charged, as a culmination of reflections collided, resonating deeply among the elders. The flickering flames danced to an unseen rhythm, casting a warm glow over their faces, bearing witness to the metamorphosis sparking within. As the storm's howl receded into a hushed whisper, a sacred silence enveloped them. The time had come to confront the heart of the scroll's wisdom. Mara, her spirit unwavering, took a deep breath. What if this moment is not merely about uncovering financial principles, but about a deeper revelation of who we are meant to be as a community? Perhaps the scroll is calling us to a greater purpose, one that transcends mere resources. Her words hung heavily in the air, resonating like a bell tolling through the night. Tobias nodded knowingly, recognizing the profound essence of her insight. What if our journey to financial peace is intertwined with our pursuit of collective growth? Each act of kindness guides us, not just toward individual enrichment, but toward the maturation of our shared spirit? His eyes glimmered with urgency, as if awakening from a long, dreamlike slumber. In that moment, the air shifted, a pulse of unity surged through the circle. With growing confidence, Sabin pressed forward. Perhaps we have stumbled upon the true essence of wealth. By giving freely, we not only mend our own hearts but create a fabric of resilience for others. It is intertwined. Me abundance fuels yours, and your generosity nurtures mine. Each elder felt the momentum shift, the collective anxiety falling away like autumn leaves, revealing the vibrant colors of renewed hope. Mara shifted her weight, emboldening her stance. Imagine a community where every need was met without expectation, each heart willing to pour out unreservedly, believing truly in the power of shared abundance. The scroll, this sacred text, isn't merely a historical artifact, it is a living testament to our interconnected fates. Tears glistened in the corners of some elders' eyes as a wave of recognition swept over them. The scroll contained the blueprint for transformation. They were the keys to unlocking its treasures. Then, the winds outside began to calm completely, as if nature itself honored their realization. Quietly, Tobias proposed, what if we commit to a covenant, an agreement that we shall challenge ourselves to see needs in our community, to love without reservation? He extended his hands, an invitation for solidarity. One by one, the elders joined hands, forming a chain of commitment. Sabin closed his eyes, a deep breath filling his chest, transforming anxiety into conviction. In this bond, we redefine what it means to possess wealth. The treasures we carry are no longer mere coins or land but the love and compassion we choose to share. We will choose to see, to act. Our financial peace will flourish in proportion to our unity. With hearts aflame, they began to articulate their intentions. We vow to prioritize community over comfort, to extend our hands to those who fill our streets with an embrace of understanding. Voices rose in fervor, and the elders passionately echoed their promises, to revive relationships long forsaken, to bolster endeavors that sought justice, to cultivate seeds of compassion together. As they proclaimed their united intentions, the earth outside trembled softly, as if affirming the paths they were about to take. In that sacred moment, they felt a shift not just within their hearts, but a ripple transforming the ground beneath them. The scroll was no longer just parchment, it had become a catalyst for Chonhei, a vessel of the spirit. With renewed purpose and clarity, they turned their focus back to the scroll, eager to uncover the next layer of its wisdom that had ignited their souls. Mara leaned forward and recited a passage that revealed secrets long hidden, profound truths that wove a tapestry of promise. "It speaks," she exclaimed, "of the lilies on the hillside, how they neither toil nor spin, yet are clothed in glory. If such beauty comes to the meek of the earth, how much greater is the purpose we are called to share." A chorus of agreement resonated within the group, each elder now fervently grasping the broader vision. Tobias continued, "This passage challenges us to have faith in the universe, to let go of our fears of scarcity. The lilies thrive without anxiety, so too must we release our burdens." Vulnerability now intertwined with their strength made each promise ripple through them like a surge of electric energy. As dawn began to break on the horizon, illuminating a sky painted with hues of gold and crimson, they stood together transformed. They were a new entity, an embodiment of love and trust woven through their shared vulnerabilities. Each elder felt a profound connection to one another, their hearts aligned with the intention to act and serve, emerging into a world once viewed through the lens of fear, now refracted through hope. Mara raised her head, feeling the weight of their collective promise. May this journey toward financial peace become a legacy, a testament to the power of love unbound. We are not only stewards of our resources, we are guardians of one another's dreams. With their hearts and purpose aligned, they knew that they had embarked on a sacred journey, fraught not with ease, but rich with promise. Each step forward would both challenge and refine them. Together, they would face the trials that awaited, planting seeds of love for future generations. As they exited the warmth of that circle, the first ray of sunlight bathed Jerusalem in golden light. The storm had passed, but in its wake remained the awakening of realization. Together, they throbbed with anticipation for what was yet to come. They were transformed, renewed vessels of hope, stepping boldly into the world, ready to confront every shadow with arms wide open. And so, the scroll whispered revelatory secrets into the depths of their souls, urging them to spread their wings and soar, awakening the knowledge that true financial peace lay not in possession, but in the elegant dance of love shared freely amongst all who inhabit this transient world.